Nicholas and Rhonda Kay were seemingly the perfect married couple. Rhonda ran a baby clothing business from home with her husband, and they also hosted lodgers in their spare rooms for some extra income. They had 2 young children, a nice large home, and a steady income. It was the idyllic family setup and seemingly comfortable lifestyle. However, behind closed doors, the Kays had a stormy and volatile marriage. Nicholas Kay was known to have extramarital affairs, and the couple would lead somewhat separate lives. This so-called dream setup would come to an end when, in November 1992, Rhonda Kay suddenly disappeared from the family home, and so it would seem, without a single trace.
It's not particularly unusual in this day and age for people to go missing. It is unusual for a married woman with 2 young children to go missing.
In an unusual twist, this case would lead to a shock sentencing that became a historical first in UK criminal justice. Just FYI, I post regular true crime and real mysteries videos here on a regular basis, so if that sounds like it might be right up your street, consider subscribing today and hitting the notification bell so you don't miss my future videos. Also, be sure to leave a like rating so I know that you've stopped by. Let's get right into the case of the mysterious disappearance of Rhonda Kay, although those who knew her would say that her disappearance was clearly caused by her husband, Nicholas. Today's case takes us to Newbury in the county of Berkshire, England. Newbury is a historic market town situated in the southeast of England, approximately 55 miles west of London. Newbury is known for its rich history, picturesque surroundings, and a range of cultural and recreational attractions. Overall, Newbury is a charming town with a mix of historical and modern attractions, making it a popular destination for both residents and visitors. Its proximity to London and the natural beauty of the surrounding countryside make it an attractive place to live and explore. Take it from me, if you are passing by, it is definitely worth a pit stop. During the investigation of Rhonda Kay's disappearance, Thames Valley Police discovered that not all was as it seemed in the Kay household, and that there may have been trouble in paradise. 2 days before she went missing in November 1992, Rhonda Kay had caught husband Nick in bed with one of their lodgers, Karen Scott. Rhonda had demanded that Karen was to be evicted from the property with immediate effect. Nicholas Kay disputed this and begged for Karen to keep her lodger status in the family home. This caused another major rift between the spouses. By all accounts, this was the second time that Rhonda caught Nick being unfaithful. The very next day, Rhonda sought advice from her solicitor in a bid to start divorce proceedings. Rhonda Kay's sister, Rochelle, called the family home the very next morning, only for Nicholas Kay to advise Rochelle that Rhonda had left the family home in the dead of night whilst he and the children were sleeping.
The last time I spoke to her was she was waiting for Nick to come home from work, and she said her words to me were that she was going to have it out with him and ask him to leave.
In December 1992, husband Nicholas Kay and Rhonda Kay's sister Rochelle took part in a press conference in a bid to raise awareness and plead with Rhonda to at least get in touch to put her family members at ease. The first thing that stands out for me in this footage is the body language of Nicholas Kay. I know it must be nerve-wracking going on camera for the first time. Your wife is missing and you need to appeal to the nation for her return, but to enter the conference with your hands in your pockets is not the best look, and to me, it really doesn't shout concerned husband at all.
Every now and then the kids ask me where she is, and I just want to be able to tell the kids she's gone away and she's safe and know that it's the truth. The separation, she knows the separation is definite, and I know the separation is definite, but I just, for the kids' sake, I just want her to let someone know that she is safe.
Authorities were not convinced that Rhonda simply abandoned the family home, her children, and all of her belongings without any notice or obvious reasoning. Her car was left behind, she did not take her passport, cards, any money. Even her personal finances were left as they were since the day she disappeared. Rhonda Kay has never been seen or shown any signs of life since November 1992.
There was a good deal of suspicion that Rhonda Kay had been killed, and of course Nicholas Kay, owing to the circumstances of her disappearance, Nicholas Kay would have had to been the prime suspect.
Chief Superintendent Adrian Becks took a calculated risk during the press conference. This is something very rarely attempted, and Becks took an incredible gamble with this move. Becks gave the green light for one of the news reporters, Roger Sawyer, to ask the ultimate question right in the middle of the press conference. Nicholas Kay was in for a chilling surprise. This was to be a press conference with a twist, and Nicholas Kay had no clue that he was about to be placed on the spot in the most extreme way imaginable.
2 more questions and then it ends. Roger.
I have to ask you this question, Nick. Have you killed your wife?
It's fair to say that Rhonda Kay's family, the police and the press were expecting, and quite frankly deserved, a more sincere response than the one Nicholas Kay actually gave. At first, all Nicholas Kay could offer was an exhale, as if a joke had been told, and then what followed was this bizarre and yet at the same time chilling response.
Have you killed your wife?
What do you think?
Anyone who was innocent in this situation would have been horrified by that line of questioning and would have shown way more emotion than that. From an innocent husband's point of view, your wife is missing without a trace, and someone drops this bombshell of a question. This response to the question pretty much confirmed everyone's suspicions. However, the conclusion of the press conference provided no firm answers as to the location of Rhonda's body, no new witnesses, and no leads whatsoever. The police still officially had nothing further to go on, and Nicholas Kay was allowed to return home a free man. It transpired that it wasn't just the strange press conference that raised some serious concerns regarding the case. Nicholas Kay's lover, Karen Scott, returned to the house just 2 days after Rhonda Kay went missing, and they continued to live as a couple. All of Rhonda's personal possessions had either been sold or destroyed in a bonfire. It became clear that Nicholas Kay and Karen Scott expected Rhonda Kay to never return. It was clear that despite the press appeal, Nicholas Kay and his new girlfriend Karen Scott had immediately started a new life together and were never expecting Rhonda Kay to ever return.
It would
Well,
be
we've
news
really
to
had
hear.
we've really had a belly full of all this, to be honest.
Nicholas Kay eventually divorced from Rhonda Kay and married Karen Scott a year later in 1993. They then moved to a cottage in Hampshire, around 30 miles south of Newbury. 7 years came and went, and there were no reported sightings of Rhonda Kay. Her financial profile and personal identity had remained inactive, and it was clear that she was either very good at staying under the radar or she simply was no longer alive. Rhonda's sister Rochelle fought long and hard to keep the case alive. However, with absolutely nothing else to go on, everything ran cold and the publicity ground to a halt. Rochelle resigned to the possibility that her sister may never be found. All hope for any kind of closure or resolution for Rhonda Kay's family had pretty much dried up at this point. However, in the autumn of 1999, this would all change because the case was being reviewed by Detective Superintendent Trevor Davies.
And if you put those together with the circumstances that prevailed at the time, in other words, he'd just been discovered for the second time having an affair in quite a reasonably short period of time, he had to become the major suspect.
Davies saw that it was quite clear that Nicholas Kay must be the prime suspect in the disappearance of Rhonda Kay. After all, he had everything. Nicholas Kay had the motive, he had the opportunity, and the circumstances perfectly fit the scenario that Nicholas Kay murdered his then wife, Rhonda Kay. Davies came up with a risky but effective plan. Shortly before this time, police had controversially been given new powers under the Police Act of 1997 to place surveillance on private homes if no other evidence was available for an outstanding case. Davies was given special permission to plant bugs in various spots in Kay's home. This was a massive gamble on the part of Davies, and was a move that may never even pay off. For this reason, Davies needed some kind of prompt so that Nicholas Kay would provide the audio evidence he needed. After all, Nicholas Kay and his new wife Karen aren't likely to bring this up in light conversation 7 years later. A catalyst was required, and a strong one at that. Rhonda's sister Rochelle stepped in to provide that very catalyst. The plan was for Rochelle to plant the seed in Nicholas Kay's mind and then monitor the reactions of Kay and his wife Karen.
Hello, Nick. It's Rochelle. The police have been down to see me. They found some remains and have taken some DNA samples. I hope they get you this time, you bastard.
The reaction from Nicholas Kay and his wife Karen was absolute gold for the police.
That was Rochelle.
What?
That was Rochelle.
What did she say? Hold on a minute.
Got her out of the plastic bag down on the water in Cirencester.
A bag? Oh, I bet they've done her fingerprints already.
It's been down there a long time.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah, it'll all be circumstantial though, won't it?
Oh, God. Yes, but putting it in a plastic bag looks suspicious. If they look In the bottom of the river, there's pebbles. The first thing you should have discussed it with me. I mean, I don't think you're telling me the truth. I don't think you use gloves.
Why wouldn't I use gloves?
The audible panic that was playing out before the police spelled out obvious guilt. The panic, the arguing, the tension, all pointed towards Nicholas Kay having knowledge of what happened to his then wife, Rhonda Kay. What Davies and his colleagues were listening to was essentially a confession unfolding right before them. The more Kay and his wife discussed it, the worse for them it got. Nicholas and Karen can clearly be heard talking about water, so police searched nearby bodies of water based on the recordings in Kay's home. However, the body of Rhonda Kay was never found. Having reviewed the recordings for 48 hours, police moved in and arrested Nicholas Kay and his wife Karen, despite the lack of a body or any kind of forensic evidence. Nicholas Kay protested his innocence throughout the trial, and even claimed that he was aware that the police were bugging his house, and that he said all of these things just to toy with the investigators. The police, however, were not buying any of this, and neither, it seems, were the jury and prosecution. The jury and prosecution took these recordings as a confession and were looking towards convicting Kay of the murder of Rhonda Kay. However, obtaining a conviction of murder without a body is extremely rare, and even rarer when there is no forensic evidence available whatsoever. Although there are examples of convictions without a body before and since, in the case of Nicholas Kay, the prosecution were finding it a huge challenge in securing a conviction for murder. In 2001, due to the lack of any forensic evidence, and the fact that Rhonda Kay's body was never recovered, Nicholas Kay was convicted purely based on the sound recordings within his home. At that time, this was a first in UK criminal justice. Also a first in UK criminal justice, Nicholas Kay was convicted of manslaughter rather than murder for this type of crime, and sentenced to just 6 years in prison. Despite the fact that it was accepted that he had murdered Rhonda Kay, manslaughter was the maximum sentence the judge was able to administer. His new wife Karen received no sentence at all because no evidence of any criminal activity was detected on her part. This decision does seem strange because the recordings in Kay's home imply that she did have full knowledge of what Nicholas Kay had done. Withholding significant information about a murder would usually be seen as perverting the course of justice, which is a serious crime. Nevertheless, Karen Scott was found not guilty of any criminal offence. Nicholas Kay and his legal team immediately appealed the conviction on the grounds that Kay had provided a false confession. Nicholas Kay claimed after the fact that he had said all of those things as a joke because he knew the police had bugged his home. Trial Judge Lord Justice Rose quickly rejected Kay's appeal, stating, and I quote, "There is no arguable ground for regarding the applicant's conviction as being unsafe." Nicholas Kay's appeal was swiftly shot down. Nicholas Kay would have been released sometime during the mid-2000s, and is now most likely going about life as a free man. Little is known about his current whereabouts. However, he's technically served his time under the eyes of the law and is now free to go about his life. UK law does not permit a person who has already been convicted of an offence to be retried for that same offence. Nicholas Kay has been tried and convicted for the murder of his ex-wife Rhonda Kay, and unless there is some drastic change in UK law, there is absolutely no chance that Nicholas Kay would serve an appropriate sentence for murder. But for the family of Rhonda Kay, it must seem like a full life sentence has been served upon them. The remaining hope would be that Rhonda Kay's body is found at some point. However, due to the several decades that have passed since her disappearance, the prospect of her being found becomes more and more unlikely. At this point, we can only hope that Rhonda Kay's immediate family have found some kind of solace in that time. Well, you made it to the end. Remember, I post regular true crime and real mysteries videos, so if that sounds like it might be your thing, maybe think about subscribing. Anyway, that's about it. I'm off now because there are some more true crime and real mysteries that need to be covered, so I'll see you.